I remember checking my mirrors after the car turned in. No headlights moved inside the lot. Nothing. Just darkness around the old model sign. I drove home feeling sick honestly, not terrified, just mentally exhausted from trying to explain things logically. At some point, your brain starts doing this thing where it automatically searches for normal explanations because the alternative feels ridiculous. So I convinced myself it probably was not the same car. Maybe the driver was just somebody wearing a baseball cap. Maybe the motor load connected to another road I did not know about. But then another thing happened maybe 2 weeks later. And this part is probably the hardest thing to explain without sounding insane. I came home from work one evening and found a folded piece of paper stuck under the windshield wiper on my car. No envelope, just folding notebook paper. At first, I assumed it was some apartment parking warning, but when I opened it, there was only one sentence written in black marker: wrong apartment. That was it. No signature, nothing else. I remember standing there in the parking lot, staring at that sentence while cars passed behind me on the road. And the strangest part was the handwriting looked shaky, like whoever wrote it was either elderly or writing in a moving vehicle. I actually kept that paper for months, then eventually threw it away because having it around made me uncomfortable. I never told police about the note. Honestly, I did not even know what I would say. A weird delivery happened a year ago, and now somebody left a creepy message on my windshield. There was nothing useful there. But after that, I started noticing something else. I became weirdly aware of apartment complexes at night, especially older ones. You would drive past places with half the lights burned out and suddenly wonder how many empty units actually were not empty. How many people were staying inside places where they technically should not have been. How many strangers moved through buildings without residents noticing, because that was the thing deputies kept mentioning when they talked about Pine View. People there mostly minded their own business. Nobody really questioned unfamiliar cars. Nobody questioned lights turning on occasionally. And apparently half the units were vacant anyway because the property was getting shut down slowly, which meant somebody could probably move around there for weeks without attracting much attention. That idea bothered me more than anything supernatural ever could. Just the thoughts of somebody quietly existing around people without ever fully being noticed, especially in places everybody already avoids after dark. Around early 2024, I finally looked up Pine View Apartments again online. The property had been demolished, completely gone. There was a satellite image showing empty dirt where building C used to be, and honestly, that should have made me feel better. But it did not, because I still think about one detail sometimes that never made sense. The deputy asking whether the man on the phone sounding out of breath. At the time, I assumed maybe officers were looking for somebody injured or hiding. But later, I started wondering if he asked because somebody else had reported hearing breathing over the phone too. Like maybe deputies already knew about those calls before I ever showed up there. I do not know, and I probably never will. But every once in a while, usually late at night, at gas stations or empty parking lots, I still catch myself looking for that silver impala, especially older ones with tinted back windows, because part of me still feels like I accidentally interrupted something that night, something already happening before I arrived there, something I was never supposed to walk into. And honestly, I still avoid Terry Road after dark whenever I drive through Jackson.